Show with Jon Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FA Nation? Jon Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook Show. We are here for an 8-game Tuesday slate, and James, the injuries, my friend, they continue to come here. Some more big names ruled out. Some big names we're still waiting on statuses for here today. That obviously is going to dictate a lot of what is said and broken down here over the next hour. It is a 7 o'clock roster lock. So once again, definitely suggest you all be around for that roster lock. Fortunately, this is a late swap slate, so we don't have to worry about that impacting us here today. But getting the Tyrese Maxey ruled out today obviously is going to impact that game. Ben Simmons, Cam Thomas again out for Brooklyn. We're waiting on news for Luka, Wemby, Brunson, Brown, Porzingis, like a whole bunch of big names here on this slate. And that's not even including the guys that we already know were ruled out going into this one. So for 8 games, a lot of moving parts still here to figure this one out.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting slate. Ownership this morning was very interesting to see. I thought it was exactly kind of how we anticipated it would be and how we talked about. And I'm updating it right now to see what's changed. But definitely an interesting slate that's probably going to get even more interesting considering the players that we have listed questionable.
Yeah, 100% here. Taking down some of these matchups that we have, again, some of these game totals and spreads are certainly going to move a little bit here, but we have Orlando versus Charlotte. Charlotte getting 8.5. That's a 207.5 game total there in that one. We have Boston versus Cleveland. Cleveland getting 8 at home, 215 total there. Philly, Brooklyn giving 1 now. They opened as a 2.5-point home underdog, getting Maxey ruled out there. Now a 1-point home favorite. 212.5 game total there. Detroit, Miami, an 11.5-point home favorite, 217 total. Atlanta, New York, the Knicks are giving 3 at home. That's a 214.5 total. New Orleans, Toronto now getting 9.5 in that game, 228.5 total. San Antonio, Houston giving 7.5. That line will certainly move if Wemby gets ruled out, 227 total there. Then our late night camera here, Indiana versus Dallas. The Mavericks at home giving 5. That's a 246 game total there.
Let's get after it.
Point guard positions, your top price plays. Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson both questionable. DeJounte Murray is $9,400 here. Tyrese Halliburton's $9K. Obviously, Kyrie Irving becomes a big player should Luka Doncic end up getting ruled out here. How are you ranking out our top 5 or so price point guards?
Probably how they are priced. I suspect Luka plays. He played 40 minutes apparently with this ankle. So obviously we've seen crazier things, but again, he played 40 minutes and there was apparently an ankle injury this whole time. He almost quadruple-doubled, 38 points, 11 rebounds, 10 assists, 7 turnovers. So he almost had a quadruple-double in that game. Luka is the best fantasy asset on the slate, 70 plus in 4 straight and 70 plus in 6 of his last 8 overall. So I'd rank him 1. Brunson probably has the best matchup of the top 4 overall, if not Luka.
Right.
So if Brunson plays, we know he's in for big minutes. We know that he's their best player. So I have no problem getting there. DeJounte's been rock solid, and the Knicks have been – the only downside to DeJounte is the Knicks have overthrown Chicago as the slowest pace team in the NBA.
Sure.
So, it's obviously a massive pace down spot for Atlanta, who's top 5. But DeJounte's been super good regardless. Usually a pace down spot for Atlanta regardless. Had 57 against Orlando. That's a tough matchup, and he had no problem with it. And then you and I kind of talked Halliburton this morning, or last night rather. It's $9K is too cheap.
Yep.
When he is going well. And right now it's anything but. The shots are not falling. And obviously that's been something that he's relied upon heavily this year. 48% from the field, 38% from 3. And that's obviously taken a hit since the break because he's been terrible. So if that comes back to where it was in the first half, plus the assists are more as consistent as they were in the first half. I mean, he has 8, 9x which you don't usually get for a guy who's 9K,
Right.
but he's a 10K player when he's playing well. So, you have that in your back pocket if you want to play Halliburton. There's obviously the chance that he goes off, and Kyrie is as good as it gets if Luke is out, right? Like it's hard. It's hard. I was thinking about this earlier. It's hard to like if Luka's out, it's really hard to like know who else is going to be good in Dallas because like all the new additions they've added, and they're all like, and that's why when we play Dallas, it's like, okay, Luka's in, just play Luka, or play Kyrie as a contrarian play, or like maybe
I'd say
PJ
PJ
Washington.
Washington lately has been stepping it up a little bit. So
Maybe Derek Lively, but like it's just so up and down with everyone else. Kyrie's like easily one of the top per dollar plays of the slate if Lucas sits.
yeah, and I mean he gives you a good floor anyways. Your parents locking him in for 40 or so, which is around the 5x mark at 9K as it is. The Halliburton thing we talked about, obviously the recent struggles. Even over the last 5 games, he's still 5th in assist chances per game. Now he leads the league overall this year in assist chances per game, but even with some of the down production, he's still getting those opportunities. You want to see him convert. Obviously, 0 for 12 from 3 the last 2 games isn't helping. He had an 0 for 7 overall in that Pelicans matchup. You would have thought he would bounce back against San Antonio, which would have been a better matchup for him, sort of, kind of, but not really because he didn't hit any threes. But we'll see if he can turn it over against Dallas here. Going into the mid-tier, our guy Des here says he likes Emmanuel Quickly. They're home. Toronto, or New Orleans, rather, has been a relatively good defensive team this year. How are you feeling about the mid-tier of Quickly, Cunningham, Vassell, Van Vliet, and Garland?
I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for Quickly to continue to just be awesome. And we've kind of pointed it out since the break. He's been awesome. And now there's no Barnes. There's no Bruce Brown. There's no Jakob Poeltl. Like 3 of their top 6 are out of the lineup. So big minutes for Quickly, big volume. The back-to-back double-digit assists have been great to see as well. It's going to be him and RJ Barrett moving forward, right? With Sprinklin's Kelly O, who I did a short on over at FantasyAlarm.com YouTube channel, which you guys are probably watching right now if you want to check that out. But it's Quickly, Barrett, Olynyk from here on out. And so I have no problem getting to Quickly at 8K. It is a tougher spot for sure. New Orleans has been a good defensive team overall. They have some very good defensive players, obviously. Speared by, Herbie. Yeah. So could he see Herbie? Possibly. Herbie probably guards RJ tonight. Cade tournaments. We saw what the bad could look like last game, but he had been really, really good from a fantasy perspective. Yeah. And the minutes, I said it to you, like, and you were quickly to come back at me. Like, I think the minutes are going to return, and they did. And then you saw the ceiling. So if we get the high 30s minutes for Cade, there's obviously a ceiling. Vassell is interesting whether Wemby's in or out, but obviously no Wemby. I mean, no Wemby last year was the reason he got $180 million. Right. Like he is a very good basketball player that's unfortunately right now overshadowed by 1, Wemby, 2, his team being bad. Like it's not anything that Devin Vassell is necessarily doing. I mean, shoot, he's scoring 19 a game on 47% and 37% from 3. Like he's having a great year. 7,600 either way. I like Van Vliet in tournaments. He's been pretty good lately. Back-to-back games, 38, 52 fantasy points. The minutes are great. The fantasy production's great. Houston's at home, so they're naturally just better at home this year. And what to do with Cleveland in general, outside of Sam Merrill, really, because that was the ownership I alluded to. He was the highest rostered player early, and as I update this, we'll find out if he still is. But like Jaylen Brown and Porzingis may not play, but that doesn't mean Derek White and Drew Holiday are.
Right.
Because that's the matchups that Darius Garland's going to have to deal with. And those are not fun matchups for anybody. Like, it's still too cheap for Darius Garland in theory, just given what – I mean, dude, they're missing Mitchell, Strus, potentially LeVert, and potentially Okoro. Like, 4 of their top 7 players potentially, or 6 players tonight, they're potentially down. And Darius Garland is not a 7,200 player in that instance. So, if you're building one lineup, it's definitely a internal struggle that you're going to have to deal with. But he played 40 minutes last game. He was super solid, even on a night where he didn't really go nuclear in any specific category. I'd be okay getting to Garland. So the rest of this mid tier is pretty strong overall.
Okay. Value tier, gets a little bit interesting here. You mentioned ownership. Obviously, with the Brooklyn Philly game, you have Schroeder here at $6K. Kyle Lowry is $5,200. Micic is $5K. It is actually Cameron Payne now getting a ton of ownership love. Cam Payne coming in at $3,200 all the way down here as a point guard potential. Now, he's questionable, but as at least of now, he is getting a lot of the love. You mentioned Merrill obviously was getting that earlier, but Micic and Payne are two guys getting some ownership at point guard, but you got to think Lowry and Schroeder are also kind of interesting here.
Yeah, I mean, I think Schroeder continues to be super solid, even in the disgusting game that ended with 208 points. Another 32 fantasy points for Dennis Schroeder. Even on games where he's not shooting well, sub 40% back-to-back games, he almost double-doubles in each and gives you 30-plus fantasy points. Like, he's exceeding 5X. Really nice cash game play if you want to get there. We've kind of been waiting for the Micic minutes. They're just forced to play him and Trey Mann together now because they don't have the bodies. If he's going to play 36 minutes, I don't care who the matchup is. Like, this is a highly coveted pro-European player that came over to the States. That people figured he'd have more of a role in OKC, and then they were like, oh, wait, OKC is the best team in the West this year, or one of the best teams in the West. Like, he doesn't really have a role. Well, he does have a role in Charlotte. So if he's going to play 36 minutes again, I think you just kind of have to have interest. And Lowry as well, 1 of 9 shooting in his last game, 33 minutes. Still was 28 fantasy points on a night he goes 1 for 9. Back-to-back games, 36, 33 minutes for Kyle Lowry. 17 assists, 10 rebounds combined over that span. Hey, man, wasn't happy in Miami. Right? Blatantly not happy. Was stopped talking to the media, didn't want to be there. He's back home, right? From Philly. If he's coached by Nick Nurse. So no Tyrese Maxey is going to mean all the minutes for Kyle Lowry. The campaign thing, jumping down there is he's been in the rotation kind of, I'm just he didn't play in the Dallas game. I don't know, man.
People are, like I said, the ownership is all in on campaign right now.
It's probably they're playing double point guard, right?
Yeah.
That's what they've been doing. Like, Maxey and Kyle Lowry have obviously both played 30-plus minutes in back-to-back games. So it's not like we haven't seen it. But are they do you think that they're willing to do that with campaign and Kyle Lowry? Like, Tyrese Maxey went a full couple years with James Harden, right? So he's used to playing off the ball versus Lowry, and I don't know. I'm not saying it's wrong. I'm also just saying 3,200 campaign, not going to start most likely. What if Lowry plays 40 minutes? What if Hield plays 38 minutes? Where does that leave campaign's minutes overall? I'm just spitballing here, but 32. It's 3,200. 3,200 is 3,200, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right, on an 8-game slate, you want to play Luka tonight if you think he's in, or Wemby tonight. You get that 3,200 going on there. IC30 saying he'll quickly as well. Faisal asking thoughts on playing 3 or 4 Sixers when Maxey out. Certainly can do it pricing wise, and we just mentioned a couple of cheap value plays, and then Sean Dave obviously throwing in his Raptors propaganda here with the quickly mention. Let's jump on over to shooting guard. Again, a couple of guys we've talked about already. Kyrie Irving up there, but Brandon Ingram's $8K. Dante DiVincenzo is $7,800. Jaylen Brown $77, questionable here. Mikal Bridges $7,500. We know again, no Simmons, no Cameron Thomas here tonight. Looking at these top 4 shooting guards.
Ownership just updated over on FantasyAlarm.com. Campaign second highest roster play of the slate. So great. top of the shooting guard position. I mean, Ingram's very interesting because Toronto's been a bad defensive team, and they just lost their best defensive player, Scotty Barnes. So who is guarding Brandon Ingram? Is it Ochai Agbaji tonight? Is that, or Gary Trent? Is like, what it, either way, it's not a good thing.
Sure.
Bruce Brown's not there. Like, he's hurt.
Right.
So they just don't have the bodies. Grady Dick, they're going to put a rookie on. Like, there's just no solution for Brandon Ingram tonight. So he's back-to-back 30 actual point games for Ingram. I know both were against Indiana, but Toronto's a bottom 5 defense since all their trades.
Yeah.
Definitely interested in Ingram in tournaments. DiVincenzo obviously is fine with or without Brunson, but you saw the without, where 38 of the 39 minutes came without Jalen Brunson against Cleveland. Took 22 shots, took 14 threes. I'm interested he might end the season with taking having more 10 plus 3 games than not.
Yeah.
Like, he might end like 45, 10 3-point games and like, whatever the math is, 38, 37.
I get it.
Whatever.
We didn't even talk. I mean, we didn't mention McBride, but obviously if Brunson's out, McBride,
yeah,
a guy at 5K. But DiVincenzo, the shot attempts are wild there. If Brown is in, given his current run, do you consider him at 77, or do you think, given the matchup, maybe a little bit too priced still?
I mean, like, Cleveland's a great defense, but you can only guard so many Celtics.
Right.
Like, Okoro is your best on-ball defender. Does he guard Brown? Is he too small for Tatum? Does he guard Tatum? Does that leave Brown open? There's not enough answers. Like, if Sam Merrill's playing 27 minutes, who's Sam Merrill guarding? Is that a Drew Holiday thing? Is that because they've seen a lot of teams that run double big put their big on Holiday, right? So if they're full capacity, is Jared Allen guarding Drew Holiday tonight? Is Mobley guarding Drew Holiday tonight? So then is Merrill Boston's just a nightmare, right? They're just a nightmare. So I'm okay getting to any of them. Jaylen Brown at 77 is too cheap in current form.
Sure. I did just get Nick Richards in tonight for Charlotte, so maybe that kills our Grant Williams value there, but we'll see. We'll see when we get to power forward center what we go there. But Charlotte against Orlando, not the greatest of matches for them anyhow. We talked up Mikal Bridges last night. We're still definitely in on that spot here today, $7,500. Jalen Green is an interesting cat because the last 2 games, man's been playing out of his absolute mind. San Antonio, not a great defensive team here. Hasn't played well against San Antonio the 2 games that they've had this year against them. Tournaments, I imagine, is the only place we're looking to touch Jalen Green here today.
Yep.
Any other mid-tier shooting guards for you? Buddy Hield, I imagine, 6,100.
Yeah, Hield's interesting. And this is why I'm like, I don't how he's 3,200, so that's where the field is. But how are we positive Cameron Payne's getting extended any further? Because if Buddy Hield's playing, what if he plays the minutes that he played when they first acquired him, right? And he's playing 38 to 40 minutes. Oubre is now the highest projected rostered player on the slate. He's playing 22 to 26 minutes in his last 2 games. What if Kelly Oubre plays 35 minutes tonight? Right. What does that leave campaign? I'm good getting to Hield. I'm good getting to Oubre. Either 76er here. Hield 61 if you want the savings. Oubre 53. Yeah. Both good eligibility, but I like both.
Yeah, guys. I think Oubre. The pricing is what's bumping Oubre up. Yep. Right, they're just expecting the minutes to be there for him. Duncan Robinson is $5,800. You mentioned Oubre. Trent 54. Micic 5K, as we talked about, a point guard here. No Markelle Fultz tonight for Orlando. Any interest in Anthony Suggs guards Orlando?
It's a great spot. Jalen Suggs is fine. I would say 5,100 doesn't have like a crazy ceiling at that price, but we've seen games where he's approached 40 fantasy points and even surpassed it. Cole Anthony, classic Cole Anthony, 14 minutes last game, because that's just what they are doing. They just have so many players that they want to play. Like Jamal Mosley's playing Gary Harris mid-20s to high 20s minutes. That is going to crush Cole Anthony.
I'm just wondering if he gets 10 minutes now without Fultz, right?
Sure.
Like if he gets 24 minutes against Charlotte, he can score, as we've seen in the last couple of games there, 25, 23, 28, 29. Kind of has that upside potential there.
The only thing that I would temper with the upside word would be that he's 4,900.
Sure.
Not like low fours. And I'm not saying he can't, because he's obviously he's a bucket getter, but I'm okay in tournaments. I'm okay.
Grady Dick 45, Branham 43 if there's no champagne again, right? And then Merrill, as you mentioned, at 41. Anybody else down here for you?
Let's see if there's anyone getting any ownership. Levert is getting a lot of ownership. If he plays 55,
Yeah.
I could get behind that too. He had been kind of crazy before the.
That would probably sink. Well, there's no Strus, right? I was gonna say that would probably sink the
sink
the Merrill rostership, but
and maybe no Okoro
right.
as well, who's been starting and playing big minutes. So like, I mean, it wouldn't hurt. It wouldn't help Sam Merrill if Levert played, right. But it definitely hurts, or it definitely helps if Levert's out for the Merrill.
At small forward, again, a couple guys with dual positional eligibility. I'll talk tandem and power forward for the sake of the show. Same with Bridges. That brings us to Jimmy Buckets at 81. Man's been on a mission. We talked about it at length this morning. They're in playoff contention as it is, and they're trying to get themselves out of that play-in wild card round. Only, what I say, game and a half basically separates them from like the 6 seed.
4 seed.
I think it's from the 4.
I think it's from the 4 seed.
Detroit, we know, not a great defensive team here. Jimmy Butler filling it up, scoring $8,100 when he's going like this. A little too cheap. So 50 plus now in 4 of the last 5 games here. Is he a core play for you tonight, or are you just worried about blowouts?
Feels pretty good. Obviously, Miami's really rolling. I mean, I don't know. Bad Utah team keeps it close. Bad Portland team keeps it close. Spurs keep it close. Like they beat the Wizards by 8. Like it's been they're winning games, but like none by like massive blowout.
And they haven't been as good defensively this year than they have in the past as well.
No, they have not. Jimmy, just for context, without Tyler Hero and Richardson this year, 1.22 fantasy points per minute. 27% usage rate leads the team, so it's a definite play for me.
Sure. Working our way down the small forward list. What are we doing here with Mr. Josh Hart? 7,900. He is 81 over on FanDuel. We talked about it. His rebound prop tonight is set at 10.5. Man has been wild, playing almost every minute of every game. It's Atlanta. I mean, I know I just asked you if Butler was a core play, but Josh Hart's right here. So
explain this. Just hear me out, okay? And then give me a valid reason.
Got it.
So Josh Hart, upon our recent update, is 2% projected roster.
Sure.
2.9, so 3. We'll round up to 3, okay? The New York Knicks, nothing has changed other than maybe Jalen Brunson being out, which he's been in and out of the lineup regardless. Yeah. But the 2 games prior to this triple-double, 3 games prior, rather, Jalen Brunson played, and Josh Hart had 54 fantasy points, 40 fantasy points, 49 fantasy points. Josh Hart's also played 40 minutes in 5 straight games. You mentioned the rebounds. He's had 19 and 18 the last 2 games. He's had 8+ in 5 straight. I mean, you basically 8+ since end of January. Yeah. The assists have been there, 5+ in 5 straight games, 2+ steals in 2 straight games, and he's made multiple threes in 5 of his last 6. They are the slowest paced team in the league. Atlanta, conversely, is 4th. And also Atlanta is 29th in defense. What am I missing? Is it sticker shock?
Yeah, I think it's sticker shock. We talk about this a lot. You cover the name, you look at the stats, it's like, oh, definitely plugging this guy in. And then you look at the name, you're like, wait a minute. Josh Hart has 37 rebounds in the last 2 games. That can't be sustainable. You just had 19 rebounds against Cleveland. That has Evan Mobley and Jared Allen. So, yeah. And now he's going up against a Hawks team that has been playing a lot of small ball lately as well, with Jalen Johnson as the 5. Yeah, I'm with you, man. I think Josh Hart's a great play here tonight. Either site, DraftKings or FanDuel. It's only a couple $100 difference between the two. You're going to get him at low ownership and he pops off for 50 again. Then you're getting 6x plus return on your price tonight. So,
like Jimmy Butler, just back to the Butler, right? Butler versus Hart. We could just do Butler versus Hart, just looking at our ownership. Not again, we love Jimmy Butler. He's 17% projected rostership tonight in a game that you asked if it was going to be competitive. At home against
I think it's more so
the
perception of Butler being able to score and do more, while Hart's been getting a lot of his numbers with the other stats.
Correct.
Because I mean, listen, obviously, I mean, dude, he's not going to grab 19 rebounds again, right?
Okay. Well, didn't we said that about the first? We said that about.
But if he gives you this stat line, 15, 10, 5, and 2,
5x,
it's just 5x, right? So yeah. I think that's where a little bit it comes into, because he's popped off with elite rebounding numbers the last 2 games, or he had a ceiling scoring game, right?
Look, I'm just saying,
I don't disagree. I'm just saying I think that's where that perception comes in. But to those other points, like 42, 42, 40, 47, 45, if he's going to get another 5 to 7 minutes on the floor, there's very much a chance to get another 5 to 7 fantasy points added on to 40, right? So he's over fantasy points per minute player. So
is he going to sit? Are we sure he sits?
No, I'm saying I'm saying the reason that he's been getting some of these opportunities is because he is playing another 5 to 7 minutes. So
I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. I'm just saying.
I think he's a good play. I think you put him in your lineups here tonight. Just know that when he's had the huge games, he 23-point triple-double, 37 rebounds in 2 games. I mean, it would be funny to say, like, we're going to get a 15, 10, and 5, and someone in our chat's going to be like, oh, he had a bad night tonight. It's like, well, he didn't. He gave you 5x, but sure, like it's just
right.
So it's the perception.
Okay. I'm just also just like being in a tournament mindset where like you can get
at 2%. I agree with you. At 2%, dude, if he goes out there and gives you 15, 15, and 5, he doesn't have to give you 18 or 19. Like, we always knew he was really good on the glass, right? We talked about it. It's when one of his calling guards is a guard, and then they started playing him 45 minutes a night. And they've been limiting at Hartenstein. Dude, when they go Jalen Johnson to 5, Hartenstein's not on the floor. They're going to go smaller. They're going to play a Chua. They're going to play a smaller lineup. And Hart's going to have all the opportunities to rebound. So I'm with you there. I like them both. I think they're both really good plays here. Buckets or Tatum, Anthony wants to know.
I mean, that's is that a FanDuel question? What's the FanDuel pricing compared to FanDuel?
Let's see.
FanDuel pricing.
Tatum is 10K, Butler's 89. So it's kind of a similar price discrepancy between the two sites.
Probably just take the savings on Butler. But like
if Jaylen Brown and Porzingis are ruled out,
right,
though, you go Jason Tatum there.
Agreed.
7:30 start. 7. They both start at 7:30 there, Anthony. So you'll know. You'll figure out if there's no on DraftKings. Okay, figure out if Brown or Porzingis are going to be in tonight. The Celtics are not on a front leg of a back-to-back here, so it's not like we're worried about Porzingis sitting front leg to play tomorrow. But if both of those two guys are out, yeah, Tatum tonight is going to take 25 shots. So perfectly fine going Tatum if Brown and Porzingis are ruled out. Otherwise, I think Butler is the way to go. Working our way down the small forward tier, because we just spent 10 minutes talking on Hart, rightfully so, as Anthony said, made it in time for his boy Hart here. What do we got? We got Siakam, Franz Wagner, Toby getting a little bit of love there at $7,200 now with no maxi. Miller, we talked about. Bogdan down here. What are your thoughts on the mid tier for small forward?
Yeah, Toby's kind of turned it around the last couple games too, and it's maxi. It's no maxi, no Embiid. Not only just maxi.
Yeah.
Like there is just a lot of opportunity for guys. With those two off the floor, just those two, not factoring in anything else. Tobias Harris, 25.5% usage rate, 1.13 fantasy points per minute. Like really solid numbers. No problem getting there. Again, like obviously had the nuke game against Charlotte, had a really good game against Dallas as well. I would expect Tobias Harris to be really popular in cash,
Mhm.
and I definitely think you can get there in tournaments.
Yep, I agree with you. Value tier forward, small forwards. Again, there's some Atlanta plays down here. Obviously, the San Antonio guys as well. You can play Oubre. How are you breaking this one down?
Yeah, I mean the Keldon Johnson is very interesting if Wemby sits. There's obviously a need for more scoring. Oubre we've talked about pretty extensively. It's or not extensively, but we talked about it shooting guard. What else do we have? Anything interesting in ownership? No, nobody's getting any other ownership. The Atlanta guys are interesting. I'm not taking the bait on Ochai Agbaji at 4,800. 20 shots. I mean, like, I'm not saying there's not opportunity for him here, because there's three. Micic officially
Yeah,
starting, by the way, which I think
we all
we
figured,
all
right?
expected. But yeah, I don't. 20 shots is probably an outlier. He had taken double-digit shots, 4, 5, 6. I know, like, opportunity was limited, but 6 times in his time with
Yeah.
Utah. Um, it's not. He's just been a low floor. Even when he's gotten like minutes in Utah, he's been a
Yeah,
low
I'm not
floor
really
guy.
interested in him. If I get beat by Agbaji tonight, tip of the cap, right? 8-game slate,
Yep.
plenty of other value pieces we can go to tonight, especially at the small forward position as well. If we wanted to find some value there, it's certainly available to us. Other guys down here I'd look at, obviously Fontecchio at 44, play I think we can take a peek at. If we were to get the Luka Doncic news ahead of roster lock, I mean, Tim Hardaway at $4,600 is too cheap. I mean, that guy is going to get a lot of opportunities here.
Yeah, he's typically like the plug and play when one of the two are
Yeah.
out. He's definitely been a little bad of late, not making
Yep, losing
shots.
some minutes. I
Um,
mean, they added some guys to their rotation. Again, this would be more so of a feel play. Like you're
yep.
taking Luca out, got to think he might get plugged in. So, Suggs, Harris, Wagner, Banchero, Carter still the starting lineup there for Orlando. We figured that. We'll talk about center in a moment because I do want to get your thoughts on Wendell Carter. If you can ever figure out how many minutes that man's going to play, good luck to you. Power forward position, we have Wemby, obviously power forward center eligible. Tatum and Banchero, 97.86. Zion, $8,100 at the top here. You have a preference of the three?
Between Tatum, Paolo,
Zion?
and
Yeah.
Zion. Paolo probably with the best matchup of them all. He's been super consistent the last 2 games. The scoring, the assists, the rebounds have been really good.
Zion is your 5th highest roster player on FanDuel tonight.
I mean, like it's a really good matchup just considering Toronto is so depleted and starting RJ Barrett at power forward. That's not a good recipe for success defensively. Like, how are you going to stop Zion with? I mean, you're starting front court even if they don't start Olynyk. Like their front court that's going to play all the minutes is Olynyk, Barrett, or like Nwora.
Yeah.
It's a good matchup for Zion if you want to get there for sure. I mean, I would say New Orleans in general is in a good spot. We talked Ingram. We didn't really mention McCollum, but like any of those guys could pop off at any moment up. So.
Anthony, just to get a couple of your questions, I know we moved on here a little bit already. If everybody's playing Luka, like I would rather be on the Luka chalk than off the Luka chalk, right? You don't want to be against Luka when he drops 90 fantasy points. We saw that the other day. If you didn't play him, you had 0 chance of cashing. You just wasn't possible with his ownership and the way he went off there. If he gets ruled out, you just pivot down to Halliburton. Like the money's there, you'll have the money to do it, or Irving, either way. But you definitely want to plug him in there. Lowry's not going to replace Maxi's numbers, but he's going to probably get the minutes. So I would not play Lowry expecting 50 fantasy points there for sure. And then Coach Chris, what's up, man? Got a nice little slate here, 8 games. Mid-tier power forward, Jalen Johnson, $7,800, been a favorite of ours all season long. We now have power forward only for RJ Barrett here. Mobley at 75, Jabari, Precious, mid-tier guys at 7K for you.
Yeah, Barrett definitely stands out. 77 is, we're getting up there, but he continues to produce. If he makes free throws, he's gonna have an even higher ceiling. Can't make those though. Mobley, you know, really tough spot, but really good basketball player doing a lot of things. 6+ assists in three of his last four, 13+ rebounds
I
in
took
three
the
straight.
over 9.5 rebounds on him tonight, and I know it's risky, but the Celtics take so many threes
So many
that
threes.
the rebound opportunities are going to be there for him. Like they shoot 40% from three, but they miss like 33s a game, right? Like those rebounding chances are potentially going to be there for Mobley here tonight.
Yeah, there is a lot of 3-point volume from Boston. That's just what they do.
Yep.
Like that's just how they've constructed their team. How Joe Mazzulla wants to play. I can't blame him either. With the amount of
He
solid
literally
3-point.
trolls the Boston media when they ask him about the number of 3-point attempts that the team takes. There was a reporter that wrote an article that's been covering the Celtics for like a decade, and he wrote an article back in like the Mike O'Brien days, like, the Celtics shooting too many threes, and he like brought it up. And he's like, hey, like you kind of been on this racket now for a while. I read an article you wrote back in 2007 asking if the Celtics are shooting too many threes. Right, like just the way it is, right? The Celtics are out there just chucking from distance. So.
Well, the NBA is well. If you're not taking threes these days, you're
losing.
not going to win many games.
Exactly.
You're not going to win many games.
So I'm fine. I like Mobley here as well. He'll have a big size advantage on Jason Tatum because he's a center playing the 4. So where else are we looking when it comes down to the mid tier? I didn't want to skim over Jalen Johnson. Do you want to highlight him here?
I don't like. He's 2 down games is not like gonna deter me from playing Jalen Johnson, especially when 3 straight games, 79, 81, 8,000, now 7,800. Like price is going down. Definitely has a ceiling. It's just like not overall a great spot for Atlanta, so I don't want too much exposure there. Just considering how
the pace
slow
down
the Knicks play, it's just such a bad pace environment for Atlanta compared to basically every other team on the slate. Like this is the number 1 pace down spot on the slate.
Yeah, I think this is a better defensive or better spot for him because think about what he was dealing with when he was dealing with Brooklyn, right? Mikal Bridges, Dorian Finney-Smith, or Nick Claxton when they were playing him at like the 5, right? Those are much tougher defensive matchups for him, and he obviously struggled in those spots to even have the usual double-digit rebounds that we're used to seeing out of him. With the Knicks here, I feel like there is an opportunity for him to take advantage a little bit more of that, of the lineup that they're going to throw out there against him. Olynyk super chalk play, you got him a power forward or center. Cam Johnson, the way he's been shooting the ball lately, again, no Cameron Thomas or Ben Simmons. You got to think the minutes are going to be there, but you were wondering about the back-to-backs here for him. Now, he played 25 and 29 minutes on the back-to-back on the 26 and 27, but now he's coming off 37 minutes. Can they afford to limit him? Like, who would they play over?
Probably not.
Who would they play?
Jalen Wilson. Probably Jalen Wilson. The injury report came out. He wasn't on it. This team is no longer coached by Jacques Vaughn. So, this is a different back-to-back situation than it was earlier in the year. But also, players are going to be shifted around even more. They ruled out Daron Sharp, who's been operating as their backup center. They might not have Lonnie Walker tonight, who's questionable. Like, they're even potentially more shorthanded than they were yesterday. So, I'm definitely just in the camp of they're going to let Cam Johnson go until he breaks down, which if he keeps playing these many minutes, seems like it's going to happen
sooner rather than later, right?
It's been every year that he's gotten hurt like multiple times a
year. PJ Washington, someone we talked about, been playing a lot of minutes for Dallas here, varying levels of success. Again, another guy that lives and dies by the 3. If he knocks down the 3s, there's a good chance for a ceiling scoring game out of him and a good complimentary piece. Pacers obviously a pace up spot as well. Any interest here at $5,800?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm more so fine with it if there's no Luka. Not to say that Luka can't set up PJ Washington for success because obviously Luka gets so much attention, but it's just one of those things where Luka just limits everyone else's opportunities, right? Like you have Luka and Kyrie potentially taking 50 shots a night, or 40 to 50 shots a night.
Yeah.
And then you have 40 to 50 more possessions for the rest of your game, right? And how many of those go to PJ Washington? It's fine. It's a great spot. It's a great spot. Great, best game environment on the board. 246 implied points. 5 and 4.5 is the spread at BetMGM tonight. So that's the best number we're gonna get. But what version of PJ Washington shows up? He has a really high ceiling. He has a really low floor.
Sure. If Porzingis is out, any interest in Al Horford?
Yeah, some.
Sure.
He's good basketball player still at his age. So he's also been a guy that hasn't needed to play a lot of minutes lately. Like since the break, he has not been extended in any capacity because Boston's just routing teams.
They beat Dallas by 28. They beat Golden State by 50.
I mean, they're just like, dude, they have what they have, right?
They're ready. If not this year, never. Just not
never.
Never.
This is the best team they've had.
Yeah.
By like, just it's not even
debatable.
Whatever. Not even debatable. I'm okay with it. I'm not like I'll ask you this: Horford 56 if there's no Zinger Brown, or Sohan if there's no Wemby at 54.
Can I just play Keldon at 52?
Yeah, or Keldon, right?
I like Keldon at 52, and then I know again you don't like a lot of the Atlanta guys, but I still think Bay and Hunter are probably pretty interesting here. DFS at 45 against Philly. I mean, the minutes he's gonna have to play, right?
Playing good minutes, dude. He's playing good minutes. Minutes are king. I know he's not like sexy. It's not like a sexy play because he's not a high volume player, scorer at all. But he is going to take threes. That's one thing you know about Dorian.
Here we go. Porzingis officially in. Jaylen Brown officially in. So Boston rolling into this game fully healthy against Cleveland. So good luck to the Cavs and their future.
Back to this question from Anthony. I think both probably on the Jimmy, probably more on the Jimmy side with everybody.
Yep, go back to Jimmy Butler there. Too difficult to know which of the 5 Celtics are going to have. We keep saying the 5. Like Drew Holiday is a very distant 5 on that. Group. They're very difficult to determine that one there. Sir Davis with Nick Richards back in. Does that impact him now for you at all? Knowing that like Grant Williams probably gets back to the power forward, like what do we think for Bertans here?
I mean, Grant still is gonna play center a lot. Like he's gonna play both. Like he's been playing as their backup center. They straight up cut. Who's the center they had? Mensah. He's gone. They don't have a backup center really. So it's Grant, and then he'll also play alongside Richards a little bit, but he's been closing as the center, which doesn't hurt Bertans, but I don't know if 25 minutes are in the cards. But if they want to go big, I mean, there's no Cody Martin, there's no Seth Curry, there's no Mark Williams, there's no LaMelo Ball, right? That's 4 regulars essentially. So their starting 5 is Micic, Mann, Miller, Bridges. You assume Richards starts because that's just the direction they've gone.
Yeah.
If Richards doesn't start, Grant Williams starts, one or the other probably at the 5. Then Grant's your 6 man. Is Bertans, McGowan's is your backup guard. Bertans is probably still like in their top 8, but
he was playing 15 to 20 minutes the 3 games prior. Then obviously gets the bump to 25. Could have just been shot aided as well. Like he's making buckets and they're like, we'll ride him out there. So but definitely Nick Richards being in, I think makes it more difficult to make a case for Davis here. Anybody else at power forward for you?
Oh, you gave Nwora a shout.
I did. Yeah.
He played 18 minutes. There's no Bruce Brown. There's no Jakob Poeltl. He's low. Like obviously there's a low floor, which I don't think you need to do it, but he's also getting 20% roster ship tonight. So the field, we've seen Jordan Nwora start before. Now he didn't do anything in that start, but also we've seen him start. So I don't know. Like, do I want to play a 19%? I feel like the 19% Jordan Nwora and the 30% campaign crowd, that's like direct correlation to Luka, right? Because you need value to get to Luka.
Yeah.
So to get to Luka and to get to like insert second tier player, who whether that be
Jimmy Butler.
8K, Jimmy Butler, right? Jalen Green's getting a lot of ownership.
Actually, I think it might be Bam. We had a question on Bam from Anthony here. Just quickly moving over to center. Bam's getting some love on FanDuel specifically tonight as one of the top center plays here.
Updated on DraftKings, he's still getting 14%, but I saw earlier this morning he was getting a lot more.
Yeah, on FanDuel it stayed. FanDuel, he is the third highest projected rostered player. So fourth highest projected rostered player. Yeah. Is Bam.
Interesting. 8,400. Is that position scarcity? Is that
I don't know, because Kelly O is the highest projected rostered player. So
like it's a good spot. Detroit is obviously a good spot, but like he's also been neutered a little bit due to Jimmy, right? Like Jimmy's dominance has led to Bam's, not that he's been bad, but the rebounds are down, the assists obviously are down without. So I don't know.
I mean, this is going to be. I mean, it's hard to say a tough rebounding spot because he is a good rebounder, but like Jalen Duran, really good rebounder, and Isaiah Stewart's a really good rebounder. Yeah. So could be
Ausar Thompson, good rebounder. Ausar Thompson, good rebounder.
It could be another game where maybe he doesn't get the big rebounding totals, when usually in order for him to get 40, 50 fantasy points, he's giving you big double-digit rebounds. He's giving you some blocks and steals. Now, he could also go to the line 10 times in this game with the way Durant and Stewart foul, but sure. I'm okay certainly getting here. I'm not saying fade him to Prince, no. You can play him if you want. I have Kelly Olynyk in my FanDuel lineup right now, but you want to go there, that's fine. Şengün, 82. Wemby, if he's in, would be my number one center for sure, 10-7. Do you think if Wemby gets ruled in here, there's any limitations for him, though? Shoulder soreness?
Could be. I mean, hey, man, there's been limitations essentially until what? Like 5 games, like since the All-Star break? Yeah. So there's always a chance.
Jalen Brunson out.
Dude, you have to play Miles McBride. I know he's 5,500, but he's going to play 48 minutes. Yeah. We just saw it. The only minute he did not play last game was one singular minute. One singular minute, because Jalen Brunson played that one singular minute.
All right, solve this problem you're going to have on FanDuel tonight.
Okay. About point guard, is he a point guard only?
He, Micic, and Luka are all point guard only.
Micic is probably your odd man out.
Micic is 48. McBride is 57 though.
Oh, okay. I mean, you could just if you.
But it's such a pace up spot for McBride here,
dude. It is a great Knicks spot. It's a great. I mean, so this also, by the way, I don't know if you've seen the shift. Also, maybe something we should maybe circle back to. Bojan. 6K on DraftKings, 30 minutes against Cleveland the other night. Achua's only played 20 minutes in back-to-back games, like 26, 22, 22. Bojan, 29, 18, 30 minutes. So just to throw that out there as well, because they obviously need. I think they'll prioritize the Bojan offense when no Brunson on the floor versus Achua's just craziness. I don't know how else to describe him. He's just crazy when he's on the floor. I would say your question. What is Luka's FanDuel price?
12-7.
He's getting what, 19% rostership on FanDuel. What did he get? What was his FanDuel score with 7 turnovers the other night?
62. Which 38 was 11, 10, just 62 fantasy points there.
So not even 5x at that price, but still probably like the second highest scorer on the slate in that instance.
Yeah, I mean he had 84 against Cleveland, right? So
I would say Micic is probably your oddball, only because he has a really brutal matchup against Orlando.
I just want to know where you would spend all that extra money afterwards. It would have to be Victor if he was in.
Or you're just playing no other value.
You're just building a crazy fair and balanced lineup, I guess, right? Like
Jimmy, Hart, DiVincenzo.
Yeah.
I mean, I really think like there's not much of a case to get off McBride if he's going to play close to 48 minutes, right? Like if he's going to play 48 minutes.
Shake Milton will make his Knicks debut.
Knicks debut. I mean,
what if Shake goes out there and plays 30 minutes tonight?
He won't. They didn't do it with Malachi Flynn, then they traded him. They didn't do it with Alec Burks. He's rotting on the bench. I mean, I just don't. Thibodeau has this circle, right?
Mm-hmm.
This circle of like trust that only so many people get into, and Miles McBride is in that. He's in that circle.
I agree.
So, let's just, for this sake, no OG, no Brunson, no Quickly, no Barrett, no Randall, no Mitchell Robinson.
Mm-hmm.
That is so many players that used to be on this team or are hurt for the Knicks. I don't know how they're still a top 4 seed in the East. McBride, still only a 0.8 fantasy player, but like Josh Hart, 1.2 fantasy points per minute. DiVincenzo is a 31% usage rate. Yes, Anthony, I would keep Dante DiVincenzo in my lineup tonight if you already had him there. Like that's
definitely not moving off of DDV there.
Also, Don, it's hard to, I don't know, game time decision. Like you're gonna have to monitor the news for they said he's gonna go through pregame warmups, and we'll know then 8 p.m. So an hour after every other game, you have one game after, probably like an awkward, no one you can really fill Wemby's spot for in that Indiana Dallas game either, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's like not a plug. Really? Maybe Halliburton, I guess.
Yeah, you'd move down to Halliburton probably is what you'd end up doing here.
Or Kyrie if Luka's like ruled out by then.
Yeah.
Right? But like then you're leaving a lot of money on the table. So it's really hard to predict if I'm being
not easy to do. Was able to get a little bit of a stack. I'll share my FanDuel lineup with everybody after this. You can steal it from me. That's fine. Let's finish up center here. We talked Bam already, obviously. Şengün at 82. Jared Allen, Durant. I mean, obviously the numbers kind of dumped down. You've been higher on Turner lately. $6,600 for him against Dallas here. Do you like this spot?
This is his best stretch of the year for sure. Outside of the New Orleans game that they just got blitzed in, still well over a fantasy point per minute in that one, 23 fantasy points in 19 minutes. I mean, he's just been consistently putting up like 1.5x like fantasy points per minute. And the minutes are obviously not great because you're lucky. It has to be a full moon to see Miles Turner get 30 minutes in a game, which is unfortunate because even when he's going well, even when he has 33 and 8, he plays 30 minutes. Right. Or when he has 23, 8 and 4, he hasn't missed a shot. He plays 31 minutes. Like there's not foul trouble in these games. So I'm good with Miles Turner in tournaments. Again, that game is incredibly appealing. There's 246 implied points. It's the late night hammer, right?
Yeah.
We surge up the leaderboards. It's a definite pivot off of a chalky Kelly O or Evan Mobley or Bam, who's getting ownership. So I like Turner in tournaments.
I'm with you there. 100%, $6,600, good price tag. Kelly O is $6,300. We expect the minutes and everything to be there. Obviously, just 26 against Charlotte, missed all of his shots. Played 28 against Dallas, had a better day, went for 40. You kind of get the good and the bad right there. This is a look at what you could see out of Kelly Olynyk, right? 40 or 0, basically what you're looking at. So the field is there. We've talked a lot of Olynyk in the past. After that, though, I mean, I mentioned Wendell Carter. He played 31 minutes. He's played 34 minutes. The other two games in between, he played 22 in both. 37 and 40, the two games he played over 30. Do you have a feel? How do we even predict when the minutes are coming for Wendell Carter?
I don't have a feel. This is This is a great spot
Yep.
for centers. Elite spot. Either bad defensive player, Nick Richards, or undersized Grant Williams, right? Like Wendell Carter should eat. It's just like the price is low enough to where like you could take a chance in a tournament, and if he plays 22 minutes, he can still get you
Yeah.
there in that span. How competitive will this game be? Because we've seen in blowouts he doesn't play in any really in any capacity. There's the Jonathan Isaac thing being there. Like they can. What if Charlotte closes with Grant Williams? I mean, Wendell Carter's not on the floor in that. They're gonna probably go Isaac, right? They close with Isaac, or they close with Mo Wagner, someone more like.
Yeah.
Just
Since the
not
beginning of
like
the
this.
season, there pretty much hasn't been a game where he's played at least 30 minutes where he's come under 30 fantasy points. With a couple
Yeah,
of
I mean,
40
he's a
bombs in there. I mean, like,
great fantasy producer
yeah.
when he gets the minutes. We just there's no. I don't have a feel on Wendell Carter. All I can say is great spot if he gets the minutes. We don't even have a situation where he played this many minutes against Charlotte the last time he played, because he didn't play.
Isaiah Stewart there at 53. Talked Grant Williams a little bit already. Lively minutes tend to go up and down. Is there any other value centers for you?
I don't hate Paul Reed coming off the bench, 51. I've mentioned it a couple times, but he's been better off the bench. 24 and 28 minutes, 29 fantasy points in each of those games. Just missed double doubles in both. So Reed at 51. Lively minutes, too hard to predict for me. I know he was in foul trouble last game. Low 20s the 3 games prior. If you want to get there, it's fine, but not like a priority. Obviously, if there's no Wemby, Zach Collins is in play here. Like big time Zach Collins fan at 4,500. If he's starting now, also in that same light, Zach Collins is very handsy and Şengün is very aggressive.
Yeah.
So like might not be the best spot for Zach Collins, who's averaged 4 fouls per game in 26 minutes against them this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's necessarily surprising, considering he is foul happy. Şengün is very aggressive, but he's 4,500. He's an elite fantasy value. But do the Spurs without Wemby keep it competitive, you think, in Houston, where Houston's actually good?
Yeah. I mean, like, we've obviously seen crazier things happen because, I mean, like, there's still what we project to be talent on that team, right? I mean, we like Keldon, we like Vassell, we think Trey Jones is fine, we think Zach Collins is fine, but obviously Wemby is like the elite player that keeps them in some of these games. So
right,
you're probably not wrong. They probably don't stay competitive here.
Not that it like necessarily matters for Collins at 45, but it probably would more so matter for Devin Vassell, who's almost 8K, right?
So where are we going? Anybody else here for you? Ready to build a lineup?
No, let's build.
Alrighty, let's see how we're gonna do this. Gotta go Knicks, I guess.
I want to play Josh Hart.
Yeah.
I like stamped my I want to play Hart.
Hart,
I
DiVincenzo,
made my case earlier. Yeah, Hart, DiVincenzo.
McBride.
Yeah, that's good.
We can still do Micic at guard.
We're pretty much in this lineup not playing Luka, so just right. I guess can't, because I would say Micic probably take Micic. It would have to be Micic or Campaign for Luka, because we can't play all of them at guard.
All right.
DiVincenzo. Actually, you can play DiVincenzo at forward if you needed.
Yeah, we can move them all up. Yeah. This thing is some value. DFS, do you think 45? Merrill 41.
Merrill 41. So that's another question. Merrill, Campaign. Those are like two of your.
You're skeptical on Campaign.
I mean, I'm skeptical, but I want Luka in my lineup.
Okay.
And Campaign is $3,200, right? We're playing DiVincenzo and Hart, who are Maxi mild concussion.
Well, there you go.
Lowry 52 is a paint picture.
Luka and the util. All right. So this probably still goes down to DiVincenzo, small forward,
I don't know if we can even do it. I don't,
power forward.
because we're not playing Kelly O.
Let's see.
This is like Jordan Nwora at power forward. And
Dwayne
then
Finney-Smith, $3,900 center.
Campaign is questionable, but questionable doesn't mean out. So if he plays, he's 3,200, no maxi, been in the rotation, and he's getting some ownership tonight. Isaiah Jackson not playing. He's out of the rotation.
Out of the rotation now. Yeah, I was just clicking on him.
No, Luka's not confirmed.
We're probably a little stuck here then. If we want
we don't have to play Luka.
All these players in here.
Yeah, we don't have to play Luka if we don't want. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I want to play Luka, but like if we want to get Knicks, we're gonna have to make
util. We talked about doing fair and balance. Where's Butler? AK center.
Yeah. Well, we can also come off campaign back to Kyle Lowry and do more fair and balance, because that would put us at like a pretty mid 6K center. Or Finney. I think Finney Smith has center. I think he has center. Oh no, he's only power forward. Unlucky, really.
Get off Butler then and go to Bam. 57.
Oh, we're 300 off. 300 off Kelly.
I know we're close, right? We could just
go to. We want to go Kelly O at center over Bam.
Yeah, that's fine.
And then see what we got, 7,700 or so.
78. Jalen Johnson, RJ Barrett, Sell, which we like. Siakam. Get more exposure to the 248 game total there.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that.
So this is our non-Luka lineup. You can definitely suggest you play Luka if you want to, but this is just a fair and balance build for everybody. McBride, Micic, DiVincenzo, Hart, Olynyk, Lowry, Finney-Smith, and Siakam for everyone there. You can certainly go ahead and test it all out. Playbook is out for everybody. We'll be in the Discord. I got to run. I got to go on Sirius XM, talk to Howard and Jim about some NBA DFS for everybody. So find us on Twitter. Get us on Discord. We'll be back tomorrow, and we'll see you then.